Hi guys, it's what day is this? It's Tuesday afternoon. It's a beautiful day out here at the mountain. Beautiful blue sky, a little bit windy, could be a little warmer. So this afternoon has been a raised bed day, so I thought I'd give you guys a little tour of what's happening. A bunch of you have asked about how the dogs are doing, so you can see they're doing just fine. Hopefully this little video on the raised beds will also answer some of your questions about what's been going on out here. I really enjoy the questions you guys post during the day. It helps me think about what to do next for you. So even if I don't answer the questions immediately, know that I'm kind of keeping them in the back of my head and answering them in the next tutorial. So let's start here. I want to show you this front bed. This is an herb bed. I'll fill this in with some parsley and basil later. It's a little too cold for that stuff yet. But what we have here is sage. Sage is what's called a tender perennial. So you can see that sometimes sage makes it through the winter. It's hardy, and sometimes it kind of doesn't. And you just never know. It makes a beautiful little woody shrub. It'll get some pretty purple flowers in the spring. So I always just kind of leave this bed here, and if it works, it works. And some years we have to pull it all out and throw it away, and some years it all makes it. The next thing I want to show you is that I don't know how well you can tell this, but some of the beds are all ready to go. So these 4 beds I did last week. They're completely turned. Here's a bed that's not turned yet. I dumped, but the manure that I dumped in has been sitting there for a little while. There's another one over here. So this bed's not ready. I've got my handy tools here. I've got a spade shovel. We're gonna talk about all the different kinds of tools and shovels. So we've got a spade shovel here. And because the raised beds, you can't really put a rototiller in here. One of the things you have to do with a raised bed is really turn it by hand. So I will be going through this entire bed, stepping on it and turning it over because the manure that was laid on top, the composted cow manure that was laid on top, needs to get turned in with the soil that's underneath. If it's anything like the other beds that I've done so far, I should see lots of really nice worms. Worms are a great sign of a really healthy soil bed. If I come across any weeds, I'll use this. This is a cultivator. It's not a hoe. You can see the big hard tines on the bottom. This is a cultivator. This will allow me to dig up any weeds that might still be in there. So I'll use a cultivator, and then afterwards I'll use this steel rake or a rock rake, and I'll level it all out. I'll use both the tine side and the back side to make a nice level planting surface. It's really important, just like when we're planting things in the greenhouse, to have a nice level surface. Otherwise, of your soil, your growing medium, otherwise you'll have little puddles and little dry places. And so in order for you to guarantee that everything is going to grow really well, you want things to be nice and level. One of the things I like to do when I'm planting a vegetable garden is I try in any way that I can to treat my vegetable garden like something that's also going to be beautiful to look at. So as I step back, and you can see that when we hash these out, when we place these raised beds, we really spent some time organizing them against the building, making sure they were square and lined up, and making sure that they would look attractive. Another thing we like to do with any garden crops is to rotate our crops. So we never plant the same thing in the same area twice if we can help it. Sometimes you might plant the same thing 2 years in a row, but really after that it's important to move things around. So last year, this bed and this bed were tomatoes. In fact, I think we might have done tomatoes in there both years. Hey guys, cut it out. Max, hi. These were both tomatoes. So this year we're going to change it up. This bed here, which was that big bed full of zinnias last year, some of you might remember it. And that bed over there, which was filled with peas and green beans last year, those are going to be our tomato beds. We're going to have a lot of tomatoes, and we're going to do them on both ends. This year, we're going to do our flowers in the middle, And then the rest of our stuff is going to be grown in the back. So that's going to mix it up a little bit, but it's still going to be pretty, I think. I put in some trellises. These are going to be for our climbing peas. I'm going to show you how to plant those in a minute. And on the back side of each of those beds, where the trellis is, I'm going to plant a row of sunflowers right up against the edge of the box. So it really should be pretty beautiful out here. We're going to have a lot of flowers, and that'll be great. Because when I plant my vegetable garden, I want it to be productive from a food source perspective, but I also want it to be beautiful. So I try to find ways to do both. Okay, I'll show you a couple other things. So I've started planting the kale. The kale can go in this early. It can handle a little bit of frost. You see how purple those leaves have gotten? Those leaves are that purple because I've had this kale outside doing what's called hardening off, getting it used to the cooler temperatures. And that is a red Russian kale that gets that beautiful purple color from the cold air that hits it. So that's why it looks like this. You can see that on warmer days, they'll probably start getting leaves that are greener, but that purple color, it doesn't change the taste. It doesn't change the nutritional value. It actually makes it a little sweeter. And so that's still really delicious. So all I'm doing in this tray is I'm pulling one out at a time like this. I'm taking off any leaves that are yellow or aren't looking great. And then I'm planting them. And you can see how close I'm planting these together. Another thing about raised beds, as we've talked about before, is you don't make rows at all. You use every inch of surface for planting. That's why the beds are this wide. We can reach around from any angle and reach the bed without ever having to walk in it. So this kale will grow. It'll have enough room for each plant to grow, but it will also be close enough together so the leaves will actually shade out. Oh, I've got my shadow in there. The leaves will actually shade out any weeds that are coming up. So this whole half a bed will most likely be kale. We'll put other salad greens in there like spinach and lettuce. It's just a little bit too early to put those out yet. So another thing that it can go in now, here's my bag of edible pod peas. I think I've told you guys before that when I plant peas, I don't want to spend time shelling my peas. So I always plant peas that have edible pods. I like to have things growing in my garden that I can just come and pick and eat right out of the garden. And because we don't use any pesticides or any harsh chemicals, I don't even have to really wash them when I come out here. I can just kind of brush them off and snack away. If you look at the back side of the seed packet, you can see when it says to sow outside. Now these say 4 to 6 weeks before your average last frost. So I could have done them a couple of weeks ago. It says even if soil temperatures is at least 40 degrees. So because it's been so cold at night, we're probably right on schedule. The spring here is a little bit far behind. So what I'm going to do, I'll show you what the peas look like. It's a little hard to do all this with one hand. Here's our seeds. Look like little dried peas because that's what they are. I'm going to poke a little hole, 1.5 to 2 times the diameter. And I'm going to go around either side of this trellis. And I'm just going to plant those peas and I'm going to use them all up. And I'm going to do the same thing on the back side of the trellis. And then I'm going to do another package over there on the other side. So I'm just going to finish these up. I'll go all the way around. And these will come up probably, let's see, when does it say they'll emerge? 5 to 10 days. You can see they need to be placed about 1 inch deep, about 2 inches apart. We don't have to make rows because we're using a raised bed. So the other key is going to be water. I'm going to need to get the hose out here and get a lot of water going because once you start planting, you need to make sure you have plenty of moisture. So I've got a little bit of work left to do that I can't really do while I'm holding my phone and doing the video. I'm going to finish up that raised bed. I'm going to finish planting these peas. And I'm going to finish up with that kale. So hope you guys have enjoyed this little update and we'll see you soon.